Hello and welcome back to Off Track Podcast with me, Dave Neal. My guest this week is the team boss of McAMS Racing by Martrain, Tim Martin. It's Martrain's 20th year of involvement with the sport of motorcycle racing, so we thought it was high time we sat down with Tim to find out a little more about the team's history and his thoughts on the 2024 and 2025 Bennetts British Superbike season with their rider, Danny Kent. Before we get started, if you enjoy what we do, please remember to like and subscribe. But that's enough from me. Let's get on with it. Ladies and gentlemen, the brilliant Tim Martin.
Okay. My name's Tim and I'm a raving alcoholic.
Well, there's a perfect way to start. Let's go in with that, shall we?
Oh, go ahead.
Let's go in with that. Let's welcome to the podcast, Tim Martin. McAMS Racing by Martrain.
Yeah, that's me, apparently. Yeah.
Welcome to the podcast, mate. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, very, very honoured to be asked. Yeah, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. We've been getting through a couple of the team bots. We had Steve Rogers on last week.
Yeah, I did see it outside the hospital at Snet, yeah.
So we're working our way through
man.
the Yamaha boys so far.
Yeah, well, he's the very top Yamaha.
We've had Steve on before and we've not had you on, so I thought it was about time we found out the background to Martrain Racing.
Okay, well, we'll try and keep it friendly for the children as well then. That's okay, we'll do our best.
We can do it.
Yeah, okay.
We'll come on to Danny and to 2025 at the end. But take me back to the beginning. Where did it all start and why?
Oh, Jesus, why is a good question. I tell you, that's probably a bigger question than you think. We got involved originally 2005, because we're 20 years going now. And we were sponsoring Alistair Kirk on a super sport bike in Irish Championship, and Denver Rob, who at that point was doing Superstock in British Championship. He was riding for KP Racing at that point, Big Jared. And we were a sponsor of theirs, or a sponsor for Denver more than the team. And we also, at that time, were helping out a little bit Corey McGreevy, way back when he was just starting out on the Aprilia 125, doing the Ulster Championship. So started off very sort of that direction. Wasn't a massive bike fan. In fact, apart from going to the Temple 100 once with my mum and brother when I was about 12, was the only road race I'd ever been to. Only race I'd ever been to.
Really?
So I didn't do it. Pipe bands was our thing. So the whole family was in the pipe bands, and I played drums and all of that. So that was our passion. And then we got into motorbike racing. So yeah, 2005, that'd have been it. 2006, we kept on helping Alistair. At that stage, he had an R6, an old R6. They were on their own team with Sonia's brother. Jason was helping him out. That's the wife, by the way, in case you didn't know that. And 2006, we ended up coming to BSB as title sponsor for a team to do Super Sport Cup way back in the day with Denver on a CBR 600. Unfortunately, it didn't last the whole season, as a lot of these things didn't do. So we sort of fell out with that, and we parted company with the team sort of halfway through. Denver lost his ride. We felt that we weren't getting what we wanted out of it, and that was then. At that point, we decided, well, you know what, I can't be that bloody hard, we'll do it ourselves. So that's what happened.
Is it hard?
No. It's as hard as you want to make it. Depends what you're in it for. 2007, we bought all Suzukis that was our first bikes were Suzukis, and we bought the Crescent, K7s, 600 and 1000 super stock bike.
Yeah. One
for Alistair, one for Denver. And you know, something started from there, started doing the Irish Championship. At that point, it was an All-Ireland thing. It wasn't Northern or Ulster and Southern Centre. It was All-Ireland. So we raced at Kirkustown, Bishop's Court and Mondello, maybe 8-10 rounds. And to be honest, probably the most enjoyable time I've ever had in racing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really good crack. Good crack. Good. At that time, you have to remember we had people like Glenn Irwin coming through, with Kirk Jameson, Jared Kingan, Alistair Kirk, Denver Rob. These guys were good, fast goers. They were, you know, the Irish Championship. When we went to do like an MRO or a Thundersport, we were cleaning up. You know, you just went there and won all the races. So we were probably at the level of Irish Championship then was between, to say, the Thundersport MRO and British. We were sort of in the middle.
Yeah.
Not maybe fully competitive to be here, but better than them. So the level was really, really good, and we had a great time, I have to say. You know, good racing, but good crack. Everybody gets on, barbecues at night. Yeah, good crack.
But then the level steps up.
Yeah.
And then the intensity changes,
Yeah.
and then the reason for going racing never changes, or does it?
I don't know if we ever went. 2007, we didn't go racing to win, because we didn't. We wanted to go and have a go out and be competitive. There was definitely no right, we're going to win this.
Yeah.
You know, that mindset. Probably deep down, I think everybody's hoping that, but you don't say it out loud. And then, yeah, 2007, 2008, we won our first championship with Alistair. He won the Irish Supersport Championship for us on a GXR 600 Suzuki, which was great to get that done. We were second that year. We could have nearly won it if I could have, would have, all that. With Denver, and he ended up second in the Superbike, so we nearly did the double with the Irish, and that was 2008. And then we sort of progressed from there. 2007 was our first road race. Yeah, first road race we did. Denver always did the Northwest, and always did the Northwest for years. We're very good at it. Really top sixes in super stock, and really good gore. Nearly got the podium on the 250 race and fell off at the Mill Road roundabout in the last lap. We were gutted that day, and that was 2005 and 6. But he was always up in the top 8, top 10, which is not easy done, as you know, at the Northwest as a private outfit. So he was really good round there. And then we gave Lee Johnson his first run on the roads. Lee was he rid for us for the first time in 2007.
Didn't realise that.
Yeah, on a 600. Yeah, it was basically, I think it was 2007. Lee won the championship, the Superstock 600. Wasn't it?
He maybe did.
I think it was because it was his. It was basically what happened was it was a 600 Yamaha, an R6. We took the bike, put bodywork on it. We supplied the team the tires, run them. And it was his own wee bike, but it was on our colours. And to be fair, he was a natural at it, which he still is. He's a brilliant rider. And I remember him coming in after the second race, and he said, coming down into the Metropole, and he says, "Tim, you never." No, that's a lie. Thanks, Derek. He said it was coming into the chicane, the last chicane. What do you call that? For the one that all the passes. No, not the McAvoy. The last one, Juniper Hill.
Juniper Hill. Yeah. So I thought you meant before Metropole.
Yeah, no, sorry, Juniper Hill. And he's coming down there, and he says, "Tim, there's this girl with the biggest set of tits." I says, "Lee, I think you should maybe concentrate more where you're going, mate." But that was just Lee, wasn't it? He was just and still is.
Doesn't change, does he?
Yeah, and so talented. I think that if you look it up, maybe I think he was like in the second Supersport race on a stock 600. He was around the top 10, like, and that was again first time there. He was super. He done it super well that time, and that was that. So, 2008 we did the Irish again. We did 2008. We did Froberg for the first time. Eastern Germany,
Yeah, that's an unusual one to do.
Yeah, well, Denver did it. Wanted to do that. We took Alistair Kirkus as well.
Yeah.
And again, we had an absolute ball out there. Them boys know how to party. You know, Shebeen down about 6 flights of stairs at a basement. And honestly, bucket all the beer. I just throw your money in. Just no barman. It's a different world. We had a ball. What a great circuit that is. Really great circuit that is. Weather was glorious.
These are the reasons to go racing, as well as the actual racing side of it, but the actual camaraderie and the team bonding and the enjoyment of being around each other at that level when you're within, you've got some experience behind you at that point. And we can do this. We've got a great set of lads. We know where we're at, but to go away and enjoy it and be successful as well.
At Denver, because they had a Joy Dunlop trophy or Joy Dunlop classic race, and he definitely got a podium. I'm not sure if he was third or second, and the two bikes in front of us were like proper full-on things. You know what I mean? Like factory type bikes with electronics. I mean, ours still had a key in it. You know what I mean? There was proper super stock bike. And, listen, Denver was riding well. We have a great photograph of him on a K7 coming into the last left-hander before the start finish, and Kneen the deck, and the way the photograph's taken, you can see the rev counter, and it's just a fantastic photograph. And Denver had a great style on motorbike. Looked brilliant.
It's something that I always enjoy, and there's a lot of stories from England and from the riders that come through. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I've gravitated a lot to the Northern Irish scene. Working with Josh Elliott, Jules, we've got a lot of good friends over there. There's a different way almost of going racing, because you have to travel so far, because you have to come together and do it as a merry band across the water, and you all go together on one big adventure.
Yeah.
You're not going from the middle of England to Donington or something like that. Every trip you go.
Well, even now in 2025, when you get onto the EasyJet flight on a Sunday night, it's basically just the paddock.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably, without exaggeration, you know 20 people on the plane, and they're all usually very tired. Somebody's really happy because they had a good weekend. Some of us in the depths of despair because we've had a poor weekend. But, it really is. There's a huge, not just the riders, but even the mechanics, engineers, tire people. There's so many people come from the north of Ireland, more so than anywhere else, to be fair, I think.
I would agree, because it has such a rich history. That's the great thing about it, and sort of dabbling in with the roads, with the Northwest, and the smaller Irish road races that you did with later on with William and with as part of Martrain Racing. Did you, before you did the full-on assault on the British Championship, did you consider the roads more than, because it tends to be the history for Northern Ireland?
Yeah. We weren't known as a roads team.
Was that a deliberate?
Yeah, not really, because to be fair, at the start it was always Denver and Alistair, and that was the two riders we had, and Denver was with us for 4 or 5 years to be part of the company, and Denver wanted to do in the Northwest, which was the race for us, and the race for even our company, being Martrain. It's the biggest event in Northern Ireland, one of the biggest probably events in the UK, if I'm honest. The Ulster Grand Prix, we did it. We won the Dundroad 150 with Denver at the Challenge 600 race and the Dundroad 150 that year in 2008. We won that. Yeah, 2008. We won that with Denver on Suzuki's. And but we didn't do Tandrick and Cookstown and all them ones because the riders that we had didn't want to do it. We weren't looking to go there. It wasn't on the cards. Denver at that time was Paul Phillips was pushing Denver, not pushing, but trying to get Denver to be interested in going to the TT.
Encouraging.
And I must have bit that year, I think 2008, when we did the good job at the Dundroad. I remember Denver talking to Paul Phillips, and I talked to Paul Phillips that day. And I had loved to took Denver to it, but the guy had no interest in it, so that it ended there then, because you don't say, come on, let's have a go. Yeah, or you don't do it, and I would totally support anybody who doesn't want to go, not to go. It's not that sort of place. But we did do the TT many years later, but at that point it wasn't on the cards.
We'll come to that later on, because the record that you set with the team at the TT as well with Dean that we'll come to a little bit later on. So that bit was sort of between 2008, 2012.
Yeah.
What happened in that interim period?
2008, 2009. We had a change around 2010. We bought our first Yamaha, end of 2009. It was an ex-Lee Johnson. That's how I'm friendly with Steve, 2009. And we bought his old 600, and we put Kirk Jameson's on it. Unfortunately for us, our timing was really bad because there was a cheeky upstart from Craig Fergus, who came along in the most terrible looking Honda that you ever seen in your life. And everywhere we went, he flipping was just in front of us. So any other year we would have been British or Irish Supersport somewhere again, but Glen was just always there, and we had some great races. Really, the only place I think Kirk got the banner one was Bishop's Court, but at Kirkerston and Mondello and that Glen was on a different level. To be fair,
I think a lot of people, because it wasn't so widely seen over here, Glenn's success in the Irish championships were outstanding before he came here.
Oh yeah. Well, he was one that
He was
he was.
doer.
Yeah. There was the thing. There's so many young guys from home, from Northern Ireland, that do 1 year or 2 years in the Irish Championship, and then say, "Oh, I want to go to England. I want to be better." But I'm a great believer. If you can't absolutely spank them in the Irish Championship, there's no point in coming here. You know, and there's so many guys, especially in the smaller classes, where, you know, they should be absolutely annihilating the guys at home before they even start thinking of coming here, because of the expense. And let's be fair, it's supposed to be enjoyable too. At that point, it's mums and dads and costs and everything else. You know, would it not be better to be at home, win a odd race, have good fun? And then if you get that level, and that will take the income here, but to come here, all that travel, all that cost to be 25th, Jesus, I mean, that's
Huge, isn't it?
Oh, people don't get it. Don't get it at all. Like, they're leaving on Wednesday, getting home on a Sunday night, Monday morning, and go back to work again.
They're in work 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock Monday morning,
it's
knackered for the rest of the next 3 days.
Butchered. Yeah. So from that point of view, but yes, the Irish, we had a great time. 2009, 2010 we came second to Kirk. We were on a superbike with Superstock, K9, Suzuki, or whatever it was called then. Jerry Kingan rode that for us for a while. He's another good goer from home, a really good rider. And then 2011, 2010, Sonia got pregnant. Well, it must have been the French kissing.
That's what my dad says.
Yeah. And we decided, well, you know, because we did it as a family. Sonia was there, Tony and Rachel, the older ones, were there. I mean, you know, Katie's first Northwest, she was 3 months old. You know what I mean? With photographs of all the girls growing up, sitting on bikes, helping to push bikes, you know, everything. So we didn't, it wasn't as if I was going racing. We all went racing. Yeah. And that was one of the big positives of it. And then 2010, we said, right, we'll take a step back. And we kept the R6. We kept the R6. I think we kept it. We sold the Suzuki. We kept the R6. And still had the hunger for it. And that was 2011. And Glenn was in between rides, and he was, at that point, we're still very friendly. And unfortunately, we've been feeding the Irwin family for years. In fact, we're still feeding them. Alan and Lexi and John still turn up here for food. Well, and John's very welcome. Not so much Alan, by the way, but John's very welcome. But Glenn said to me, why don't we do the Belfast and District Kirkuson? I'll ride your bike. So I was, okay. So Stevie's second name used to be, was it my Steve McDonald? He was the Bridgestone man at home. So I rang him and I said, would you sponsor us tires? I said, if you put Bridgestone in, we'll give you the tires. So it's a no-brainer. We get the bike, got up. Glenn never rid the bike, never rid our bike, never ridden Bridgestone tires, smoked everybody, set the lap record that has stood up until about 2 years ago. I done a 55.4, something ridiculously fast. And we thought, you know, so I really enjoyed this. So that was to 2010, and then we decided then we started plotting our way back to come back again after that.
But Glenn came over not long after that, didn't he? He came to...
He did Superstock
6, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Before he then went on to Supersport.
Yeah.
And on to Superbike, came on at a similar sort of time. I think he was on Stock 6. Keith Farmer, bless him, was doing Stock Thou around that time.
Yep, that's right.
Before he ended up on the PBM ride.
Yeah. Keith was
maybe 2013, I think, something like that.
12, 13, yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
God bless him. Still.
It must have been. I remember Keith for PBM riding the Superbike in 12, so it must have been 11 then, because he changed, didn't he? He was in the Superstock bike, and then something happened, and then he did jump on the big bike. And
then he did a full season.
The following season,
yes,
he did it.
Because he had Brains as his crew chief.
That's right.
At that point.
Pretty good. Yeah.
And everybody remembers Cascades and the bike coming back in a wheelbarrow. Bless him.
Yeah.
So 2012 is the main season, really, when everybody starts to understand Martrain Yamaha.
That started back in 2011, but we did a wild card for Brands 2011 for Melissa Paris
Oh, really?
And there's this sponsor, Tony, something or other, I can't remember his name, but he's a real nice guy. He paid us to come. We supplied the bike, the crew, and she flew in from America with her, what do you call her husband? He's Josh
Heron.
Hayes.
Josh Hayes.
Yeah, Josh Hayes. Super guy, by the way. And she's a lovely lady too. Anyway, we come across, we did the last round with her, had the bike all painted up in his colours, and it was typical brands. It was terrible weather, and she high-sided in free practice and loads of things. But we got her on the grid, and she did her races, and it was fine. And while we were there, Jack came to me and asked about, could he ride, were we doing the Sunflower? And I said, yes, well, wouldn't mind. He said, well, I have nothing for the Sunflower, can I ride your bike? I said, right, okay, fair enough. So that's what we did. So that was October 11, and Andy Jameson, who was with Steve at that time, but then I think maybe Steve was getting out or something. But anyway, we ended up, we did a deal with Andy. He came to business court with us, and then we brought Andy over to Ireland, and he started running the bikes for us. So yep, 2012 was our first just Martrain without anybody else involved in the British, 2012.
I remember at the end of 2012, I was just, getting into it then. I've been a fan for, I don't know, 45, for a few more years. And
showing your age there, Dave?
Yeah, just a little bit. And I remember being in the paddock at Brands at 2012, and one of exactly. Well, this is where I'm going with it, because it was one of the most emotional things at that point that I had ever seen. For those of you that don't remember, it was between Glenn Richards
and
Jack for the title.
Yeah.
Glenn, did he break down?
No, he fell off.
He did fall off.
So like 2 laps in, all we had to do was finish.
All he had to do was finish, and then not far from the end,
the engine went.
The engine went.
Yeah.
So you went from not champion, champions elect, not champion.
Yeah.
And I remember
it's horrendous.
Walking through behind the garages, not where the trucks are, but the main thoroughfare.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the trucks. And I remember seeing Jack being helped. I don't know where they were going, but he had his arm. One of them must have been his dad, and somebody else. And I've never seen emotion like it.
Yeah, it was his time, to be fair.
It sticks with me to this day.
It was a hell of a day, that. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was the only technical we had all year. It was just like you just couldn't have read it. But the 2012 season, we won on our first time out.
You did. He only debut race.
Yeah. We won at Brands, which was kind of one end. We did the double, the first ever double we did with Snetterton that year. First time we ever did a double. We had a few hiccups up and down. We probably lost our way a little bit in the middle, like most championship years. You know, there's a bit of a dip in it somewhere that maybe
everybody has a purple patch at some point.
But the thing is, when you're trying to put a championship together, is that your lean can't be that lean. It still needs to be points. It's a 5th or 6th or whatever. If you're not scoring points or DNF, and then basically you're not going to climb the mountain, you know. So yeah, it was really unfortunate. I remember Jack rid in, and he got off the bike and basically just nearly collapsed or fell down or whatever it was, and I walked off with the bike. Don't get me wrong, I shed tears as well. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't, but I didn't do it just at that point. More way in there, back to the airport. But yeah, he was so close. First wins, first doubles. And to be fair, Glenn Richards had fallen off twice. Once on the first race at Donington, where he come out of Goddard's, put his front tire onto a tear off and fell off. So we got maximum points there. And then his bike broke or fell off. Not sure what happened, but he came off the bike anyway at that. And he was a worthy champion too. It was Smith's at that time.
It was, yeah. Smith's Triumph.
I think it was him and Billy McCall, wasn't it? I think. And they were a great team, good outfit, good riders. But it was good to be involved. Obviously, it'd been even better if I'd have won, but it just wasn't to be.
As a team owner in that situation, what was the biggest thing you learned?
What's the biggest thing I learned? It's never over till it's over. Because we genuinely thought we had it at that stage. It was so hard not to smile. And then the bloody thing broke down. So until he's past that checker flag, it's not over. It's just not over. And should it be a mechanical, a silly mistake, a puncture, anything can ruin it. So that was probably the worst. That was probably the thing we learned most. I was very disappointed. No point in saying that. To win it on our debut year, who else? Because I don't think any other team that I know of has ever done it. That I don't believe they did it. Or
off the top of my head, I can't think.
No, super sports are not Superbike, but it's a bloody high level. It's championship level compared to Premiership, and and be fighting against the big teams at that point, like Smiths and Gearlink.
Hugely experienced.
Oh yeah. We came in like, I remember the first time we came in, they genuinely thought we were the hillbillies. It was so funny because we had the barbecue. We still had that Irish thing with us, and
everybody looking on, going, "How quaint!"
Yeah. We were having the pints and barbecue lit, and Cliffy, who's still with us now, he's been with me for the whole 20 years, still with us today, thank God. I remember him going to the bar, and I don't know how it ended up, but he ended up pulling Stuart Higgs' toes or something. I don't know what they were doing, but there was a bit of and it was all good jest. It was funny, but who else would get away with it? Like only Cliffy. It was a good basin, but we knew then we had to come back strong. What I didn't learn at that point was, because of my first year in it, I was so focused on 2012. I hadn't even looked. When we got to October, I hadn't a rider for 2013. I didn't have anybody. Hadn't even looked. Jack had made it clear that he wanted to go to Worlds or Superbike.
He did go Worlds.
He went Worlds, and I remember him bringing me after we'd signed guys for the 13th season. And his job had, how did this happen? Blah blah blah. But we would have kept Jack, and that would have been a no-brainer to keep him. But at his age, he was right to try it.
Yeah,
he was 100% right to try it, and unfortunately, it didn't work out for him. But so we didn't sign who was Stuart Easton at that time. We didn't sign him until Christmas time, I think.
Which is late in this paddock, isn't it?
Bearing in mind we didn't. It really. Well, who did we end up going after that time? Who did the meetings with? We spoke to Sam. They used to ride for Seaton Tuning. So a good go yours. I can't remember his second name. And Christian.
Okay.
And we had Christian over at the workshop in Ireland with his dad, and we thrashed out a deal. And Andy really rated him, and I really rated him, because at that stage he was riding for the Tag Smith team, or Tag Triumph team,
Triumph, yeah.
And we really rated him, and we tried to do a deal there and then with him, and the deal Hans put out the shake, but for whatever, I think maybe it was his dad said, no, we need time to think about it, which is fair enough. It's a decision to move to semi-unknown team, and he says, we'll let you know on Friday. I think it was Tuesday. And so we were sort of waiting about, and my phone rang on the Thursday. And this young timid Scotsman on the other end of the phone, and he explained who he was, and I said hello, and he said, I hear you haven't got anybody to ride the bike. He said, well, I'm just about to, it's just nearly done. And he said, well, I'm really interested. Well, if you're that interested, you need to be here tomorrow morning, and can you pick me up? I'm sorry, book my flight. So I picked him at the airport. He turned up like 8:20 from the Edinburgh flight, whatever it was. Down, seen the bike, me and Andy had a chat with him. Deal was done at 10 o'clock. Photographs were done. He was back on the flight. And then I had to ring Christian. And they were really upset. I know, because obviously thought that they...
Yeah.
But I said, listen, there's an opportunity coming, I have to take it. And, you did... If you had signed it, it would have been done, but you didn't. And as it was meant to be, I'm a great believer it was supposed to happen.
Sam Coventry?
No, it wasn't Sam Coventry, no. He was a real good goer, that guy.
I can't think who it would be. There's people out there now listening, walking their dogs, driving their car, shouting at their radio.
Sorry, Sam, but you were very good at the time. I remember we did have a meeting with him at one of the races, me and Andy. But Stuart wasn't even on our list at that point, because he was riding Superbike for PBM.
Yes.
But Stuart was a revelation. He's different gravy.
But by that time, he'd already won Supersport Championship on the Monster Mod bike, hadn't he?
He had. Yeah, he was returning.
So
yeah.
he
But you
had
had to
the
remember.
experience.
Yeah, but I'm not. It's always people say, "Oh, it was tougher back then." But when you look at when we were racing Supersport, there was genuinely 5 or 6 people that could have won a race. Genuine. It wasn't. It wasn't one. Even though we won it again with Jack, and it was a great to do it again. And Jack was phenomenal and broke lap records. But there was no one to race him. I mean, he was just a different.
Yeah.
He was just so far ahead of the team. The bike was good, but he was fabulous, and it was a joy to go racing. Don't get me wrong, he was great to race with. But that year with Stuart, we had Stuart, Glenn Richards, Billy McConnell, Alistair Seeley,
Ben Wilson.
Ben Wilson would have been there. Yeah, Ben. Forget about Ben. Ben Wilson. Who else? That's 5 at least.
That's 5. There's 5 race winners there.
Oh yeah, and they all won races that year. So again, started off with him, and we had Glenn Irwin as his teammate. So that was the complete. You talk about polar opposites, the garage. Like, my God, Stuart was just sat and had the crack with you, and Glenn was bouncing about all over the place. He was like one of them wind up toys. He was.
Well, while we talk about Glenn, we must say get well soon to Glenn after these terrible injuries. The fracture, the shattered sacrum at Snetterton. So if you're watching or listening, Glenn, get well soon, mate.
I was talking to him this morning. I rang him on the way down in the car in the van, and he's in top form. He's plotting his return. Don't you worry.
Oh, we haven't seen the last of him.
Oh no, Jesus,
absolutely not.
Chance.
And we see it on Twitter at the minute. He's on top of everybody out there who's ever doubting him. He's replying with vigor. Let's say
venom.
Or that.
Yeah, fair play to him. No, he'll be back. He's
yeah, no, we've not definitely not.
Fortunately, I got Glenn when he was in that crash-a-lots thing.
Everybody goes through it, don't they? It's just timing for a team boss.
He was expensive. Glenn, you were bloody expensive.
He's got better.
Oh, there's no question about that.
He's got better.
He has got better
over the years.
But it was funny because we had, and I think what didn't help Glenn was the fact that Stuart was so fast. If I'm honest, I remember doing a test at Kyrgyzstan maybe 3-4 rounds in. With the track rented with the 2 guys down, and because Glenn held the record on our bike, went out and it was first session. He was bang on the lap record. He's doing whatever, say 55.4 or something. And Stuart was puddling around. By the second session, Stuart was doing a 55 flat. And then Glenn bar rolled it, trying to go with him. So I just think there were 2 different parts of their careers.
Yeah.
I think Glenn now would handle that and easily.
No.
But at that point now, he was so much inexperienced compared to what Stuart had.
The impetuousness of youth.
Yeah, sure, it's good to have, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Yeah, it's good to have.
I'd trade that now for being where I am and
yeah, well, I think
nice and steady and calm and
yeah, well, don't know about that, but yeah. Well, that was a good year. 13 was good, and then we took Stuart back to the Northwest that year, which was after his big accident.
Yes.
Which was for him and the family. I'm sure it was tough. We built an R1 for that. The Big Bang, the start of the Big Bang ones, we built one. It was actually a GMF bike. I remember Jimmy Murray. He bought it off him, and it was a good bike. Really trick thing, but yes, and Stuart would openly say, if you remember, that was the same year that Simon Andrews was killed in the stock race.
14.
13.
Was it 13 for Simon?
Might not. And that was a 14.
Pretty sure it was 14.
So 14
for Simon.
anyway, but there was something happening.
Yeah, there's something.
Yeah. And I remember that. And to be fair to Stuart, he was right not to go back. Yeah.
It's a difficult. It's from riders, especially from what Stuart had been through. Was his crash 09?
He was riding for MSS then, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
And he came out over the Cromore and the bike cut out and somebody
Gary Maxson?
his teammate. Yeah. He was bad shape, like.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
So to come back and do what he did, and it was vindication for everything that he'd been through, and everybody knew the talent that Stuart had.
We got on the first time we ever got in the cover of the Northwest 200 program as well, was with Stuart. So
was it?
Yeah, it was.
But framed on the wall.
No, I'm sure it's in a memory box somewhere. No one saw it. She has it stashed. But yeah, it was good. Good time.
So what happened at the end of 13 that Stuart didn't carry on for 14?
He wanted to go Superbike. I remember we had a deal set out for Stuart very early on. For once, was getting used to how it worked. So Stuart, listen, I want you to, if you win the championship this year, I want you to retain the championship next year, or win it again if we don't win it, and then we'll both go to Superbike. Yep. That was what I had set out with Stuart. But he didn't want to wait, and he ended up going back to PBM.
Yeah.
Which at the point it annoyed me at the time, but he's his own man, and he felt that was the right decision for him. And unfortunately, by hindsight, it didn't work out. But hey, who knows?
We've all got 20/20 vision in hindsight, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, and he so it was quite weird because it was 20. He did that. I'll tell you where we finally. It was Silverstone. Then he made the decision, right? There was like 3 rounds to go or something like that. And
he's September time, wasn't it?
September time.
Yeah.
And then we signed Sealy the next week. But I told Alistair that you can't, because we were both fighting for the championship. There was 2 of us. And I said, we can't let this get out. This will destroy both of us. You know that I've signed you. So we signed up, done the deal, and that was interesting because it was, at one stage I say, go on Stuart, lift him, and say, but don't hurt him, because I need him for the pre-season testing. But that was another.
Give it him, but not too hard.
Not too hard, yeah. But that's one thing with Sealy, he doesn't mess about either. Tight boy.
Tough rider.
Yeah. And if you remember that year, we won the championship. That was a disaster that year at Brands. Remember the last race where it was declared a wet race. Everybody went in dry tyres, and then the rain come on like 3/4 away distance. But we knew, we had all talked about how we thought it was going to pan out, and we knew because the weather was changing. As soon as, well, in our opinion, as soon as it got to 2/3 distance, if there was anything, it'd be called.
Yeah.
Because it was getting dangerous. And plus we were behind time, and we knew the big race was to come, and there was a finale for the championship. So there's many things. So we had a thing on our pit board with a lap to go to put out to say, you have to go, you have to be leading. And he led. So as soon as he went, and he started like 15th in the grid, come all the way through. And we got the sign, it was over the line the last lap, and then there was red flag then because somebody came out of clearways. Forget who it was. And the red flag and they went back a lap, and it was also got it. So that's how close it was between us and Alistair. Again, yeah. And then Alistair was the same. We were second that year, Alistair, by a point or 2 points or something. So
in your first 3 seasons in the British Supersport Championship,
yeah,
first and second.
Yeah, should have been 3 first. If I could have, would have, should have.
If some pots and pans, exactly what this paddock's built on.
Yeah.
So many British champions, if all would.
Yes, and we're all the same. Oh, Jesus, yeah.
But it's right. It's what fuels racing, isn't it? There's always reasons why things don't happen. Because of the nature of the sport. It could be mechanical, it could be mental, it could be physical, it could be a number of things. So many things need to align to win a race, let alone a championship.
Yeah. At the end of 2013, then we signed, because I remember doing the photographs at the back of it, we signed Dean then.
Yes.
For the 14 season. So we were going like a 2-pronged approach.
Scarborough.
We did Scarborough, Southern 100.
Gold Cup, Cock of the North.
Yeah, we won them all.
And won them all.
Yeah, done the
again, first season.
Won them all.
How long had Dean been riding then?
Dean must have been riding 3-4 seasons at that point. Yeah,
still reasonably early.
Yeah, but he was always a bloody talent though. Around Scarborough, oh my God, he's unbelievable.
That's all he ever wanted to do, really, wasn't it? Yeah. In the early days, was just race.
I remember when we were split up because it was weekends, it clashed with the British. So I ended up always going with Sealy in the British, and then Cliffy and Conor they were the Rhodes team as they call it, and they had the wee 7.5 tonner, and they went with Dean, and they won everything and had more crack than we had. But all the Scarboroughs. Southern 100, he done the double there too that year in 14. And yeah, we had a great year. We won, that was our first Northwest 200 wins with Alistair. We had 600 Superstock and a podium in the Superbike. So again, box tick for us, great year. I think we won Team of the Year that year actually.
You would hope so with those results.
I think we did in 14. that thing they do at home, which was nice. It was nice to get recognition, not just for the rider, but for the whole team.
But that's the point then where you've been around for long enough, in the same way that Taz have done their thing. They've been going a little bit longer, by 5 years. Are they 25 years?
I think they're 25. They're
25, aren't they? They're 5 years ahead.
Yeah.
But you follow a similar trajectory in that point, that you build your reputation, and then all of a sudden you have that what you would class as a breakthrough season. I know you've done the British Super, but to do the roads and short circuits and to be successful at both, that takes some doing.
Yeah, that year too, we were two fourth places at the TT with Dean, which again, just to get the bike to finish. We were gutted we didn't get a podium that year, but it would have been the ice and the cake in 14. But we had 2 fourth places with Dean that year. And then in 15 was just the new R1 was coming. And we were approached by Yamaha UK to be the official roads team. And to be fair, I wouldn't say I've fallen out of love with the British paddock. I mean, that's not the way it was, but I didn't believe that we had the budget to go to Superbike and be competitive, and we would get more recognition for the sponsors and for my company being Martrain doing roads. That's obviously what's the bigger thing. And just looking at it for recognition, brand recognition, to find more sponsors. There's more people interested in road racing at that time than there was British Superbikes.
So going into 15 and having that mantle as the official Yamaha roads team, which obviously isn't a thing anymore. Yamaha,
they don't do roads.
They don't do the roads now. But to have Dean, who was gaining more and more experience, 2 fourth places the year before, to then take that podium.
Yes, we got a podium with Gary Johnson in 15.
To stand on the podium with the team.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah.
Did Dean not get a podium that year?
No, his bike broke down. On the second lap, we were running 1-2 in 15th, and one broke down. And you know why it broke down? And this is the most ridiculous thing. They ended up, the engine oil they put into the bike didn't have the right additive in it for a wet clutch, and it ate the clutch in itself. That's all the difference. That's the difference.
Incredible.
It was just something and nothing. It was nothing. It was just basically nothing. He should have been on the podium. He was fast. The bike was quick.
Did he put the fastest ever Yamaha lap in? Was that what Dean did?
No, Dean did, yeah.
Dean, that's what he got?
Yeah, that's what he got, yeah. In 15, yeah. So he did that, but we had a hell of a time in 15. The R1 was brand new. There was no development with it. We were going with it as much as we could. Yamaha UK were as good as they were to give us the bikes and parts, but just stock parts. There was no factory parts. And then if you remember, Sean Muir then rocked up with Michael Dunlop the same year. So took a shine off our bowl a little bit. And then it all imploded. Remember, he walked out.
Because he walked away.
He walked away. Well,
it rolled his BMW out the back of his...
And then I think, did he not win on or something ridiculous when he did that?
Something, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the R1 was far from being right around the TT at that point, yeah.
It fused, it was quite smoky, I think. But
yeah.
There was a bit of an issue with it.
Airbox film oil was the problem, yeah.
That Michael was like, I'm not riding that. And I know Steve Bradley and Jez Wilson were part of the crew.
Yeah.
With Sean at the time. And I remember, I can see the photo now of Steve Bradley. Well, that's us done for the fortnight. He got his ice cream and that was it. Michael had said his piece, and as Michael will do as Michael will.
Yep.
Because that's how he is. Full respect for him.
That's he knows what he wants.
It's exactly that.
The R1 at that point was tough. Now Dean read it at the Cookstown for us, and we did Tandragee with it. Cookstown, Tandragee. Obviously, we had at that time you could ride the big bikes at Scarborough.
Yes.
So at that time, and he was winning on, right. He would have won on a gate around Scarborough. Let's be totally honest. He was that good at it. We got podiums at the Cookstown, podiums at Tandragee with Dean, but we didn't win. And I think Dean at that point, I mean, we had done all we could do as a team with what we had been given. I think if he had stayed with us for 16, which he was supposed to do, it was a 2-year deal. I think we would have definitely got improved the package. I don't know if it ever improved it to the point where he needed it to be, if I'm honest.
Okay.
Because I think so from his point of view, he ended up going with Kawasaki that next year, if you remember.
Yes.
With silicone. Yeah, the ZX10 was, for a road spec, was a better package than we had. So, there wasn't even a fallout when he left us. I mean, it was all right. I can understand he wanted to win TTs, and he was being honest. He said to me, I don't think I can win a TT in their bike, and I couldn't argue with him at that point, because we hadn't got
difficult to deliver what he wanted with
yeah.
the package that you had at the time.
Yeah. The RX600 was still the bike to be on, but obviously you can't when you're the official team, you can't pick one. So we had the official team again, and at that point we weren't doing British.
That's what I was going to say. You weren't doing the short circuits at that point, were you? 15 and 16.
No, we didn't do the short circuits. So we were doing all Irish nationals. Not all of them, but a good number of them. All the Scarboroughs. We did Southern 100. The Dundroad. Didn't get racked at Dundroad. He came off and finished the season early that year. Coming out of, was it Ireland's? It was the same place that Guy Martin came off.
Okay.
It was actually the same weekend.
Yep.
Dan Kneen came off that weekend as well, because I remember being down at the Royal Victoria Hospital speaking to Dan's dad. He was in one and Dean was another, and oh Christ, it's half the paddock there. So yeah, that was the end of that in 15. And then Dean called me sort of October time and said that he didn't want to do the second year. Again, we're disappointed, but there was no fallout. Definitely not.
Which is good, because it's a small paddock and things come around again, don't they?
Yeah, and Dean...
It's a small world we operate in.
I don't know how I'm looking forward to Dean. They're a great family. He's a good lad, good fella. And then out of that, we got Dan.
You picked up Dan Kneen for this 2016.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. I have to say, he was good crack. Dan was a super lad, and did a bit of testing with him. He got on with the Yamaha well, got on with the crew well. Went to Cookstown, didn't win. I think William maybe won, or Michael won. Some of the Dunlops won that year. We got podiums. Went to the Tandragee. I forget. We got the Tandragee, and we got protested in the first Superbike race. We won it at a counter, and Ryan Farquhar came in. I remember the TV cameras and all was there, because it's quite a big thing at home. And he could hear him saying to Dan, "You jump the start." So I went down to put this. I went down, similar to here, where you go down to your stewards and say, "Well, I want to see the evidence and blah blah blah."
Prove it.
Yeah, but the problem was, and again, this is where the road racing thing comes into it. They did have the cameras on the start, so they showed me absolutely Dan moving first. He definitely did. But what they didn't have on the screen was when the lights went. So basically you're penalising my man for being a really good starter.
For a reaction time.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks for that.
Can you show me the lights? We couldn't, but we ended up taking the chin. So I remember going on the last race. Teddy was there that year. Malachi Mitchell Thomas was there that year. William was there. There's a photograph actually where the three of them together. It's heartbreaking. We went to the last race, what they always call it, the grand final, quite late on the Saturday, and it did one lap. There was an issue, and there's a red flag. But because we had come from this paddock, we just had a spare wheel, or rear wheel. So all the real road racers were sitting. I said, change his back wheel. Oh, look, go up, car park. We were getting. It was good banter, but it was. Oh, look at the big time. Put a new tire, and I said, damn, I'm sick of this. Just stop messing about. I was going to swear, but I'm not going to swear. I stopped messing about with them, Dan. Just smoke them. Go
and enjoy yourself.
Yes, just go and fill your boots.
Yeah.
Anyway, after the first lap, it's quite a long lap. Tandragee's about 6 or 7 miles. A long lap, probably the longest lap in the National Series at home. And I remember he went past the start finish, and he was doing like bye-bye to them, was chinning the tank. I thought, that's cool. And he smoked them, he just destroyed them. And I said, that'll do, that's it, put her in the van, let's go home. Yeah. So it was good.
Have some of that.
Yeah. And then, I'll never forget that bloody Friday before the Northwest, me, Cliffy, Sonia just finished filling the trucks, heading to the Northwest to put the camp up, and my phone rings, it was Dan. And it was black as his beard sitting in the kitchen, trying to get my dinner at 9 o'clock at night. And Dan, well, but your son has crack. Not good. I said, what's wrong? I've something to tell you. What's that? I fell off my bicycle today. Oh, I broke my arm. But he was a bloody, he would have, lurking about. I said, stop pissing about, Dan, will you? And then I knew then once he started, no, Tim, I'm serious. I said, oh, Jesus. So when I'm set up with no rider, and then we got Jeremy to ride the bikes for us, which is great standing, done a good job for us. Got the bikes in the grid, we had loads of sponsors coming. We had to have somebody in the grid. He wasn't ever he wasn't going to do anything. We knew that, he knew that. We're being real about it, but at the same time, he was going to put a show on, and he was competitive, so it worked okay.
I think he was still in his mid-50s then, wasn't he?
Was that 70 something? I don't know.
You know him better than I do, so you can say that.
No. He was bloody competitive. He still is.
He still is. Yeah. Exactly that. It's even in what is he now? He is in his early 60s now, mid-60s, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he is still competitive.
He's.
If only we get another however many years, if I could be as competitive as that, I would be more than happy.
That was 15 then, yeah.
Then, so from after that 16, then you took a bit of a hiatus.
16, well, we did. Dan came back. His first race back was the Ulster that year. And we got a podium on the R1, which was like, you couldn't believe to get a podium in stock race for us.
Stock podium, yeah.
Yeah. It was, honest to God, it was like winning MotoGP for us. To get, everybody said, the most uncompetitive bike to win at such a fast circuit, being one of the fastest circuits in the world. Dan rode brilliant that year. The bike was good. And I mean, Yamaha was over the moon with it. Everybody was so happy to get it. We should have been more competitive. He actually fell off a 600 race. Thankfully, a real small one of the road ends. But we should have been probably on the podium in the 600 again. But anyway.
Was that one of your most fulfilling wins?
To get that bloody thing on the podium, yeah.
Fulfilling podium, sorry.
Yeah, to get it on the podium, yeah, probably it showed that we had done something as a team, as a small team, taking a bike that was classed as being uncompetitive, and we were up against all the BMWs, the Fireblades, everything, and we got a third. Now, we weren't within a Beagle's goal of the win. I can tell you, it was very stretched out. I'm not going to pretend that we were fighting for a win, but we're still the third fastest man home.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was good.
So 2018, from my little bit of research, the next 3 years is sort of toe back in the water a little bit, supporting Conor McGreevy.
Yep, well, which we had done before.
Which, as you said, you'd done previously. Great. Yeah. He's missed in this paddock. Super talent. I like Corey.
Yeah, Corey's a good lad. He is. He's so hard on himself, though. Jesus, I mean, he's so hard on himself. He because he'd done, like, in the Irish, he was one of the kids that we talked about earlier that was smoking everybody. Yeah. Like, he was too good for that paddock. Talent wise, he made the switch to stock 6. He won the championship, so again proves. He went to Super Sport, probably not the most competitive. I know we had 2 or 3 different rides, and we ended up just how it started with Corey. We had a little 7.5 ton lorry. And they asked, and Derek, who's now still works with us here, he's some sort of relation to Corey, and he was sponsoring for him. So I said, Derek, tell you what, just take the lorry, and we'll MOT it, you crack on. And that's how we got involved. And then the last race of the season, we ended up buying him an engine. To say, listen, try an engine, see can you get a bit closer. And he was closer. He was I don't know where he was exactly, but he was like 6th or 7th or something, and that would have been was that 19 or 20? What was that? No, 20 was a COVID year.
20 was COVID year, yeah.
So it must have been 21 then, was it? 21.
Because then 21 was his was he stock 6? 21?
No, that was the end of 20, because 21 we won the championship with Jack in 22, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah. So 21 we said, okay, we're going to put a team around you. Our bike put more into you, so we bought him a new bike. His brother Kia done the crew chief and mechanic, and so basically it was us supplying the hardware, but they had their own team. Derek being part of the team. Yeah. Like, I didn't even go to that many of the races. I came to this one. Stuart Easton, I got him involved to try and mentor him a little bit. Stuart gave me a hand a couple of times, especially here. But I think Corey just got in his mindset that he could have, because he had the package, that he should have just won on it. And it just doesn't work like that. You know, you have to ease into it a bit. But anyway, it didn't work out that well, and they didn't even get to the end of the season, and the whole thing, there was fallouts, and to be honest, we couldn't keep up with the bodywork. We was smashing that much of it. So he called it a day at the end. Thankfully, it wasn't me that did that. But at that stage, I said, listen, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it. So I had made contact with Jack August time, September, June. He was riding for the Kawasaki lads. Was it Dave Tyson's outfit? I forget the name of them now.
Oh, the Qingdao.
Something like that.
Whichever, yeah.
Yeah. And
Was it Qingdao? Whichever one it was, yeah.
Whichever one it was. And Jack was like on the worst bike there. And he
On the MV?
Was it MV or Kawasaki? It was Kawasaki, wasn't it?
It might have been the Kawasaki.
Yeah. But the bike was not competitive.
Yeah.
Or at least not as competitive.
Not where for his level where it should have been, exactly.
And
that.
he was flipping like unbelievable, smoking them. And so I said I was going to go back to 600, but he come, and it was a lot of chit chat. And then we did a deal with him, and we had to let Corey know. And I think Corey knew himself after the year he had, it wasn't happening. We brought Andy back again.
Getting the band back together.
Basically, it was all like, what do you call that? The commitments, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like commitments.
Rather than Spinal Tap.
Yeah, well, probably better, yeah. Got Bandy back again. Derek stayed with us, thank God. He's a super guy. Derek's brilliant. And we went in 22 and we just absolutely smoked them. I mean, it was just probably as close to a perfect year. We were fastest in every session. We set so many pole positions. We run 8 or 7, 8 races on the bounce. We did double here, did double there. And the only reason why we actually stopped that year because we went to Superbike.
Yeah, that's right. Last two
rounds because we had it already done at that stage. And then I remember at Oulton Park, Jack had, because we actually won it. Did we not win that championship the same weekend as we did? The Queen Elizabeth passed away. It's not. We couldn't celebrate it. Is that what it was?
Because that was, Brad Ray did the treble.
Yeah.
You wrapped up your championship.
And we couldn't celebrate. Well, we didn't want to celebrate. It wasn't made right.
No, it wasn't right.
And there was no champagne or there was no nothing that year. So and then the next year
that was 22. Yeah.
22 that was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And then Jack had a special helmet and all made, winners and all everything. So I said, right, let's get this wrapped up. But that stage we'd already signed Jack to go Superbike. Steve Rogers had talked me into, and we're doing this. And he just said, let's get what we'll win. Could we get a win for him? He fell off on the last lap leading it on the race one. And then he got a ride through penalty for the most nothing. And then he ended up, he absolutely bit the screen and got a third, but that was his finish Supersport.
That was it.
Oulton Park was our last Supersport round.
Yes, to then do Donington and Brands on the Superbike.
Yeah.
So the switch to Super, so that was kind of redemption for 2012, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Massively.
Yeah.
So 10 years later.
Yeah.
And it goes full circle. That's where you deserve to be 10 years ago. But then, as you said at the time, Glenn deserved the championship. Jack deserved the championship. There's only one rider can take it.
Yeah, they're both good.
But for Jack to do what he did in 22 and then to take the step to the Superbike, it's a massive step. For the team, for the rider, in this championship, the Bennetts British Superbike Championship, arguably, if not the premier domestic championship on the planet, to come into that and to want to be successful straight away, or as close to straight away as you can. You've got to you manage your own expectations, don't you? But you're not turning up to make up the numbers.
No, we never did.
No.
But at the same time, we felt we could have run on that 10 to 12, 10 to 14 run to start, which we did.
Which is respectable.
Yeah, but you're not going to retain or encourage sponsors when you're 12th to 14th. Like, it's just not going to happen.
No.
So we did the 2 rounds. It was an eye opener for everybody, because the way I would see it, Supersport to Superbike is a quantum leap. And that's where it falls down a little bit, because the step is big. And we were a good team in Supersport.
Yeah.
And we were like swimming with armbands and Superbike, like it's a different level. I know there's been a lot of things done trying to change the controlled ECU and all of that, but to get the best out of that takes money, because you're employing the best electronics guys, and it's difficult. So yeah, we did it. Then we had a really good start in 24 with Jack Silverstone. We qualified in the front row for one of the races. We couldn't believe it. We were fighting for podiums and top sixes, and we thought, Christ, we'll have this. And then it started to go downhill a bit. After that, Oulton Park was tough on Jack and on us, because very physical place, and Jack's not the biggest guy in the world with a superbike. And but we had places where we were competitive. Thruxton, we were competitive. The faster flowing stuff.
Yes.
We were competitive. Places like Cadwell, Oulton Park. Here, we were. Well, Jack, if you remember, absolutely destroyed the bike here in warm-up. I mean, destroyed it. So, yeah, it was a baptism of fire.
It's difficult in this championship if you are below a certain height, because of the nature of our circuits. It makes the job a lot more difficult. Taz found that on the race on the McAMS Yamaha, that through certain places he was kind of on the verge of crashing more than Brad at 6'1", where he's got the levers to do what he did. I still think Taz's Superbike Championship win is underrated in a lot of ways, more underrated than other, because of his stature and what he had to do to win, versus someone like Brad, who's a bit taller, and it's the levers side of things. So for Jack to make that switch, and also I spoke to Charlie Nesbitt last week, I'm firmly in the belief, until somebody proves me wrong, that it takes a good 3 seasons to become a competent and challenging British Superbike rider. Would that be fair to say?
I think it probably does, but it's not just seasons you need. You need grit, determination, and above all talent. And like, there's guys in this paddock here.
Oh, you're not going to get away with not having talent and determination.
Yeah, guys in this paddock here have been doing it for 15 years, and they're still no further forward. Like, let's be totally honest. And not just in Superbike, but in Superstock, and they obviously enjoy their racing. And you know something, there's nothing wrong with that either. That's absolutely fine. But you know, them guys are probably at a point where they're saying, well, this is a hobby to them.
But would they get a seat in your team?
No, they wouldn't. So, but that's just the reality. That's the reality. There's even in Superbike, there's very few in this paddock gets paid. People think, you see with their hat on back to front, and their sunglasses and their white teeth. They're unemployed people who ride motorbikes. Majority of them. You know, that's
absolutely
that's what it is. And the really talented ones get paid because they're really talented.
There's a reason why they're pro riders.
Correct. Yeah. So, but there's no question for us to go to Supersport Superbike. That was a tough year. 24. At the end of 24, I made pretty big changes with the crew. We let Andy go. We brought Spanner in.
End of 23.
End of 23. No.
Into 24.
Sorry, end of 23. My apologies. Yeah.
No, sorry.
23. Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Wait, thanks, mate. We let Andy go, and it was just sad because I still very fan of Andy. He's a great guy, but we just needed somebody to take us to the next level with it. So we brought Spanner in. We brought in a different electronics guy. It was James we brought in. Used to work for Tommy and PBM.
James Mead.
Yeah, good guy. Very good. So yeah, we brought them in and built the team around that. We're in Danny, and 24 was a good year for. It was a good year because it also was our first year ever to have a title sponsor. So, and all this time, so it was new. It still is new for me. But McAMS have been brilliant, absolutely so professional. Tina and James come to as many as they can. They're supportive. I call it more of a partnership than a sponsorship because I would run things past them, and vice versa. And they get it. And
Well, I was going to say they get it because of the years they had
Yeah.
with Steve. They understand racing. They're
Yeah.
passionate about it.
Yeah.
It's the perfect match. After Steve withdrew Raceways, it was the next place to be for the next Yamaha team.
Yeah, and
OMG were doing their own thing.
Yeah. And we were lucky, and like gobsmacked that they actually wanted to come with us because we were an unknown. Let's be fair. But they put faith in us, and they give us a 2-year deal, which finishes the end of this year. So I don't know if they're going to keep faith or not after that, but that's to be discussed later. But we feel that we've done a good job for them so far, but we need to be more competitive. We just have to be more competitive.
On that front, I think myself and the watching public at large, after the win at Brands last year, congratulations to the team,
Finally,
to yourself and to Danny on that. You got that Bennetts British Superbike win late in the season. You'd have liked it earlier.
Yeah,
of that I have no doubt.
Just a bit, yeah.
The progress with Danny and retaining him for a second season, the pace has gone up substantially this season.
Yeah.
Mainly due to the bespectacled fella on the Raceways.
Yeah, Brad's different gravy. Yeah.
He's come back from Worlds. We've discussed it with Steve last week. We know why he's doing and how he's doing what he's doing. Everybody is going half a second faster than they ever have done to try and close the gap. Danny, for me, probably hasn't had the strongest of starts. Would that be fair to say?
I would say he's had a very poor start. I wouldn't say it's not. There's no point in. I mean, just not look where we are, where we thought we were going to be, and where we're at now. We're running 8th in the championship. A good weekend, you could be up into the 4th easily, and it's so tight at the bottom, let's say. But Brad is in a different stratosphere at the moment. He's riding with confidence. He's got a good motorbike, I have to say, a good team. But the bikes are the same. There is no difference, to the point where Steve laughingly said, "I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll swap bodywork and let them ride each other's bike because that's how they are the same bike."
He was at pains to say that last week on the show that all three bikes are the same. Apart from Kyle's got a different suspension unit in, but the bikes are the same engine-wise.
Same tuner, same electronics, so everything is the same. So we're struggling this year a little bit with Danny because we genuinely, through the winter testing, thought that we were making steps, improvements on the package. We had different engine, we had different this, that, and the other, and all throughout testing, when Danny we ran 2 bikes at testing, so we had the 24 bike and then the 25 bike, and he was jumping off bike to bike just so to speed up the testing because you get so limited amount of time, and without doubt, every time I don't want to ride the 24 bike, I want to ride the 25 bike so much better. So we went down that avenue, but the 25 bike, that guys was a very much may have been a better bike or a nicer feeling bike to ride, but when you're in the heat of battle and you need to crack the throttle open, it's not doing what he wants it to do. So as a team, we need to take responsibility for that as well. It's not all just Danny. So we genuinely have done everything we can. We've put different engines in. We've done a 2-day test at Kirkuson. We have done everything that we can to get them back. We genuinely hope that we'll see an improvement this round. We're P2 today, but it was wet. But I do think we had the pace to be in the top 4 or 5 in the dry here because of the test we did. So we don't care if it's wet or dry. We'll be happy enough to run in the next 2 days. But yeah, it's been disappointing. There's no point in saying that. We expected a lot more, and hopefully we can get there sooner rather than later.
It feels, but at Snetterton, I was around the garages and you kind of see what's going on, and you can feel things within garages, and you see body language, and you kind of get the idea that like people aren't as happy as they should be. But this weekend, there's a different feeling. Is that fair to say? Yeah,
I think we were all so frustrated because we genuinely thought Saturday should have been a really strong circuit for us. I don't think we could have ran with Brad. I mean, I'm just pointing saying that, but I think we could have been fighting for 3rd. That's where we should have been. We should have been fighting with Tommy Bridewell.
Yes.
That's
Tommy, Leon, Rory, that battle.
We should have been in that battle.
Yeah.
But we were 15 seconds down the road, which just isn't acceptable. And that's just reality. So You know, you have to remember here, you know, and even this weekend, if you're 0.4 of a second off a lap, you're 8 seconds behind the winner.
No question.
It's forget about it. You might as well just go home. Your environmental issue because you're burning tires and fuel for nothing, just a waste of time. So you need to be on the money all the time. And one of the things that we struggled on is to build a weekend. We haven't done a weekend yet. This is maybe the first one that will be super competitive, FP1, FP2, FP3. And that's what you need to do. Is this thing of trying things in a BSB weekend, forget about it.
You can't test an FP1.
No.
Absolutely not.
So we'd still be footering about time to time, but I think we've turned the corner of that too. So we're focused for this weekend. I think we need to show big improvements, wet or dry, and hopefully we can.
How much of a difference has having the Emperor in the fold been? Having Roger Marshall join the team?
Roger's is super. I've known Roger for, like you, many years, and Roger's brings a different element. We were always so focused on the bike and the setup and the electronics, and we never really give Danny a thought. It was more the fact that, you know, Danny looks after himself, but we brought him in this year to give Danny something back, so he can, once he does his debrief with Spanner and the guys, then he can talk about lines and what other riders are doing, because we don't. You know what it's like going to be. I see nothing on about a 12 by 12 box. I don't see the racing, apart from going whizzing past the pit lane. So it's good that we've got that. I think I've got off to a pretty good start. Maybe lost our way a little bit with all the different issues that we're having, but hopefully we get it back this weekend.
It feels good in the camp.
Yeah,
It feels good this weekend in the camp. Danny is, as you say, he's on the front foot from FP1.
Yeah.
Regardless of the conditions, we test
matter.
the same for everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You still got to go. And they were even as wet times go, they were good wet times.
Oh yeah, they were good. Yeah. And
competitive wet times is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and he was doing them. The big thing for us as well, he was doing them at will. He was doing them without ease. I wouldn't say easy, but you know, he wasn't sticking his neck out. He wasn't out of the seat everywhere. He wasn't.
They were consistent as well, weren't they?
Keep banging them in. So yeah, we're pleased. I mean, we're on the FP1. We were fastest in sector 1, sector 2. And we were only like 0.2 off in sector 3, and we know now what was wrong with sector 3. So we think we've that fixed. So yeah, we should be all right.
This could be a good weekend.
I hope so.
I got fingers crossed. By the end of this episode, I will fill everybody in on the weekend of how it went. Oh, so as we sit here now on Friday night.
Oh, thanks, Dave.
Pleasure, Tim. Anytime. We hope that there will be lots of success and plenty of reason to smile at the end of this weekend.
I hope so.
Because for everybody, everybody's due it.
Yeah, I think so.
And this is one of the great things, I say great in inverted commas, of having Steve on last week, who is riding the crest of a wave, 7 out of 8 races, double treble.
Yeah.
But this is the other side of it. And racing's hard.
Yeah, it's not
if
easy.
It wasn't, everybody would do it.
Yeah. And to be fair, listen, Steve's a good friend of mine, so, and it pains me to say how well he's doing. But at the same time, congratulations to him and Brad and the whole team. You know, it was never going to be in doubt that he was going to be competitive. You know, it was never in doubt. But I do think just when you talk about the Brad element, and I think for the championship, it's a good thing because it gives everybody something to chase. But it also puts some spotlight, the difference between world championship level and a British championship level. This is a really brilliant domestic championship. And as you say, probably the best in the world. But the leap between here and Worlds is just, well, you're seeing it now, aren't you? Brad, was he the top 20 anywhere, maybe?
He got 6th at Imola in his first year.
Yeah. And then where did he go after that? Backwards?
Back end of the points, there or thereabouts. I remember
I don't know about the bike, that team, I don't know anything about it. But it's still a Yamaha, and he was on a Yamaha.
That's right.
So, but I mean, when you see what he's doing here, I mean, he went out there and he probably hasn't made a knockhill since he did the test with us. But I mean, probably hasn't been here in 2 or 3 years, and you know, he's back on it again. So he's quality at it. And to be fair, I think when you see what he's doing here, it'd be a shame if he wasn't back in Worlds next year.
There aren't any slow riders in world level racing.
No. When you just look at Taz's doing,
yeah,
you know, he is world class, and sure I think he's departed now, that outfit.
He has. He's departed MIE Honda last Tuesday. Yeah. So where he goes and what he does remains to be seen. Whether he takes a bit of time out just to rest and reset.
I think his goal is to stay in that paddock though.
I don't expect to see him here anytime soon.
Yeah.
But it shows a level, and Ryan is the same, that you go to World Championship racing, and Brad said this on the podcast before Christmas. He said from FP1, they are within half a second of lap record pace. You don't have setup time, you don't have time to get used to it. And what he said on the Ixon stage last week, he said, I remember going on the outlap following Sam Lowe's. I said, we were going to the grid. He said he PB'd sector 3 on his outlap. He said, what are you supposed to do with that? He said, that's the level that everybody rides at. He says, this is a great championship with some great riders, but when you're putting yourself against Alvaro Bautista, Nico Buliga, Danilo Petrucci, Toprak, JR on his day, Alex, they are a different level to what we have here, because it's a world level championship. That's no slight on the boys here.
No.
At all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
You got a former Moto3 world champion as your rider.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
I think at this stage he'd be happier to be known as a BSB champion than a Moto3 champion, but we'll see.
No, they'll come.
Yeah, listen, there's no question he's got the talent. I think as from Danny's point of view, probably needs to work on elements of his game, aggression and things. He is a super smooth rider. He doesn't take big lunges and that. But I think in this championship, especially in some of the tracks they're in, especially like the hairpin here, he ain't lunging, you ain't going forward, like. So, you can't.
But you see that over the years, and I think the same to a point for Kyle. When he was developed over the last sort of 22, 23, he's one of the most polite passers, if that's the correct English.
It gives you the space.
And he wouldn't go for it. But when it came to Cadwell last year with Tommy, and one of the circuits that he doesn't enjoy the most, and he's put in strong passes, and you're like, here you are. But when you look back to the third race at Donington last year, without being too specific on a race for you, but there was Jason, there was Glenn, there was Kyle, and I think Danny.
We got third that day. Glenn got fourth.
But
that was a fantastic race. But Danny it was just fantastic. But
you're against Jason O'Halloran and Glenn, and they don't think twice about. And Danny, this is your time. This is where it is.
Yeah.
This is how you have to race if you want to be the Bennetts British Superbike race winner and champion.
It's not the prettiest, that's for sure.
But it's brutal at times.
It's all about getting in front of them and slowing them down. Yeah. That's basically it.
How often do we see somebody mid-corner? Like Snetterton was a prime example.
Yeah.
Slow down mid-corner, pick it up and fire it out.
Yeah.
And it's a brutal way. Right, I have...
Oh, God.
Our Patron questions. We have our great patrons who subscribe monthly to our channel.
You couldn't be too many asking me a question, I would have thought.
And we've got some, don't you?
Called Betty, that's my mum.
We've got 3. Four, in fact.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I have 2 sisters and my mum. And Sonia. So
petticoat government. That's exactly it. From Craig Lowe. What moment from all your riders' history with the team would you like to relive, but through their eyes?
Ooh, that's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of my favourites. Yeah. Craig's great at these little
very good.
left-sided questions.
Yeah, what from their eyes? We've had some great races over the years, and this isn't taken away from anyone, but for me, probably the best race that we as a team would be involved was 2014 Supersport 600 race, Northwest 200, the first one, where we were in pole position, down into the York corner the first time. Lee ran out of talent, fell off, and Alistair put Alistair onto the footpath, and he was looking the wrong way. He was looking into Port Stuart instead towards Coleraine, had to do a 3-point turn and was stone last, and came through the paddock, through the grid, and the start of the 5th lap was in the lead. How that didn't win race of the year, having broke a lap record 3 times on the trot, that to me was just to do with it. Never give up. That was a super race that day. So
I would agree.
imagine being behind the visor and be able to do that.
Yeah.
From last to win it at the Northwest 200.
The tenacity that it takes.
Yeah.
You're literally down at the first proper corner
Yeah.
of the race.
Yeah. And you're last.
And you're going down. You're going down to the seafront.
Yeah. So to be fair to Alistair, that was probably, yeah. If I had had a sort of a camera just on his eyes and watching what he was doing, like he must have been pretty aggressive at times to get past. The bike was fast, but he had some super moves.
Still got to get past them.
Yeah, that was good.
Here's another good question from Craig. Are there any riders you had the chance to work with but regret not working with them? Which is kind of like any rider you could have signed but didn't and wish you had.
This is going to sound really flipping big-headed, and I don't want to sound that way, but anybody that I wanted, I got. I have to say there was nobody I didn't get. Anybody, Christian didn't think, but if you had said Christian didn't and Stuart Easton, I would have took Stuart Easton. Any rider that we decided that we wanted to get, we got him. So, no. Sorry.
No, not at all. Thank you for those, Craig. Chris Turner, this is a deep question.
Good.
Why do you think Jack Kennedy is unable to replicate his 600 form on a superbike?
I don't think that's that difficult to answer, to be honest. He rides a superbike too much like a 600. That's it. Jack Kennedy on a 600 is world class. World class. And he can ride a superbike as well for a few laps, but he can't string it all together and do that 20 lap. And that's just because of his style. He's a super sport rider. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean?
But as any rider, they'll always want to prove themselves at the highest level.
Bike, yeah. I was sort of, when obviously Jack would have liked to stay with us the year after we let him go for 24. And he thought what he said to me, he thought he'd done enough to get another year at it. And obviously I disagreed with that, and that's why I wanted to change. But I was glad to see him getting the Honda thing.
Yeah.
And I think if he plays his cards right there, what a team, what an outfit. And he can make himself a really good living, be super competitive, hopefully stay injury free.
As one of the few full factory rides in this paddock.
Well, that's the only one. There is only one.
Yeah, with Honda itself, yeah. Everybody else is a team private, supported by...
I would support is, I mean, people get away, the support's not support. Support is allowing you to buy the parts. That's okay. Totally honest. I don't know where these guys get support from.
But we, as fans, we don't know how that works.
It doesn't work.
So you, as a factory supported team...
I'm not weird about factory support.
No, but as a factory supported team...
Yeah.
When you were factory supported, in the 15, 16 on the roads, the conception is, if that's what conception, a completely different word.
But I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why don't you even go that way with concept? It maybe is the right word. I don't know. It's late on a Friday night, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Conceptional day. That there is support and parts, and there is trickle down from world level, and that's if you're a factory supported team, you have access to all of those.
There's no question parts. For us, even now we would be allowed to purchase swing arms and things and everything. You're quite right, nothing gets developed for BSB. Everything gets developed for World Superbike. I'm sure at some point something that comes down from World Superbike will work, but I haven't seen it yet. Because we don't race in these circuits, we're racing places like this. And the factory support, none of the manufacturers, apart from Honda, are putting budget into it. It's just they're not selling motorbikes, it's a business at the end of the day. Yamaha UK are doing what they can, but they don't sell our ones. They don't make them even to sell anymore, so it's a difficult one. It's and this idea of, factory support, they're still built in the same place. Like, there's no difference. Do you get support with setup? I think you can ask for it. We would, but Spanner definitely has links to the guys at Worlds, and we would use that from time to time. And I think it actually works both ways, where they'd be asking Spanner, well, have you tried this? Have you done that?
Yeah.
There's a very open conversation with us all. But this idea that we get something special, that's dreamland. Doesn't happen.
Do you get access to each other's electronics as well? Are they open?
Here?
Yes.
No. No, we just have not done that.
I didn't know if there was.
No.
I know they're separate individual teams.
Yeah, no, but we have all the McAMS stuff from way back from 2017. So we have Jason's, Taz's, anybody else with that bike spanner has all that, and Steve was happy enough to give us that. I don't have Brad's, he doesn't have Danny's, and that's just something we've done. And to be fair to Steve, if I was him, I wouldn't give it to me. No. Why would you? We are racing against each other. Like, it's not,
this is what I mean. They're two separate teams under a Yamaha banner, but you are completely two separate teams doing your own thing. Yeah. Which is interesting. That's why we need to see McAMS Racing on the podium with OMG, and not at the detriment, but from a Yamaha point of view.
Yeah, it was disappointing.
You want to be in the same ballpark.
Yeah, it was disappointing for us. Yeah.
It'll come.
Hopefully.
It has to. It has to, because you're going to be cross if it doesn't.
No, I
know. Simon, so thank you for that, Chris. Simon Breeze, what motivates Tim to keep putting out a race team and riders and sponsoring them? And have you a race motorcycle that you particularly like?
R6.
And why?
Yamaha R6 is the best motorcycle. It's just what a beautiful thing. Yeah. I still got Stuart's bike from 2013. I have a wee shebeen at my house with a bar upstairs. And it sits in the wall with all his cups and all his leathers, and Stuart just take it all. So I still got that super sport bike. To me, the Yamaha R6 is the best for this type of, production based racing. Obviously, when you go to MotoGP and things, that's a different level. But for me, the R6. Let's be honest, if an R6 in its last carnation is probably coming on 10-year-old. But if I had Jack Kenny on R6, I'd win the Supersport this year, on an R6. What beat the Jack Kennys, beat them all. It's still that good, It's still that good.
If Michael can do a 130 lap on the TT on one. On an R6?
Yeah, no, he did that on.
Did he do it on Honda?
No, he did it on Ducati this year, didn't he?
No, it was 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago.
Well, last year he did a 130 lap, but I'm sure it was on the R6.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're...
The competition for it is still there.
Oh, yeah. It's just they're so expensive to run.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
It makes things.
And Yamaha has no interest in supporting it because of the new R9.
Yes.
So from them, they want to see R9s out. So that'll be interesting to see how good that is.
Over the next 2 seasons, that's going to become sort of towards the future, isn't it?
When you look at the world's level, it looks good.
It's doing the business, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they're talking that's going to be the new Superbike class at some stage or another.
Maybe so.
Who knows?
Yeah, maybe so. We'll wait and see how that pans out. Tim, thank you.
No problem, mate.
Thoroughly enjoyed that.
I'm sure you're bored you to tears. Do you do like a translation bit for the old English people who can't understand me?
I can put subtitles. Yeah, on YouTube it does subtitles.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no,
you
just click closed captions on the bottom of YouTube and it will translate quite easy. Little CC button on the bottom.
Because I can't understand you when I'm watching you back.
No, I get it.
I need to do that.
No, you got to stay awake for that. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, been a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, Tim. Thank you so much.
Cheers, all
brilliant, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Martin.
All right, mate.
Thanks, mate.
No problem.
Well, that was a fascinating insight into the history of Martrain racing and his thoughts on the season with Danny so far. It's not been the easiest of starts for the team and for Danny, but the green shoots of recovery are starting to show, that's for sure. Next week, we'll have a raft of shows for you from the World Superbike Championship at Donington Park. We're sitting down with Jonathan Ray, Alex Lowes, Ryan Vickers, Chloe Jones, and Sean Muir, just to find out what's been going on in the 12 months since we were last there at Donington Park. So until then, thank you so very much for watching, and please do look after yourself. Bye-bye.